All right, so good evening once again, and I welcome you all. We are still on mastering Python for data analysis. And what we have done in a couple of classes we've had so far is for us to get rooted in Python, for us to understand the basic syntax of Python, how it works, how to write Python codes, and then how to also be familiar with the customized integrated development environment, specifically for data analysis with Python, which is the Jupyter Notebook. So this section is actually, we are starting the main analysis with Python. So what we have been learning since is trying to be familiar with the language as one of the most used data science and machine learning language. So the topic we shall be looking at in this section, we are going to be talking about how to set up analysis platform or analysis environment. We are also going to look at how to import how to import libraries, which will definitely offer us a bunch of functions that can either be used to reprocess or to read the data into the framework, or to reprocess the data and to also perform some analytics tasks. We'll also be looking at some data inspection functions or techniques. So there are certain Python attributes and functions which can actually be used to inspect your data as a data analyst. So when we get to that section, we will look at that all. So I want to start with setting up working environment in Python. So we all know that the first thing to do before you can use Python for data science or data analysis, you have to install a server and then also install a framework. I've spoke about what we mean by server in the introductory section, where I said server is like a background application that is actually making making an app or another software to function in the system. So it's the one that actually funds, or the one funding the direct app you are using. So because Python is a server-side programming language, so it's designed, particularly if you want to use it for tasks like data analysis, or even for back-end website development, it requires you installing a server. Now, the server in this case, for us as data analysts, is to help us to run our codes on a browser as if we are on the internet. Meanwhile, it's just a local or an offline server, because the framework we are using, which is called the Jupyter Notebook, it's a web-based application. It outputs its results on a website application like a browser, like Google Chrome, firewalls, and the rest of them. So which means that before any output can be made through the browser, there has to be what? a service, which could be either internet service, but in this case, we do not need internet before we can deploy the Jupyter Notebook, because the Anaconda has offered us a server at the background that is giving us that internet experience locally. So now, how do we start? Let's start with setting up. I would like us to be making our notes even as we follow the class. So even if you cannot make the entire note, just make sure that you are noting the topic in the order we are addressing them. The video will be made available probably before tomorrow morning in the same group you are. Okay, so let's look at setting up data analysis environment. So before you commence your analysis with Python, you need to set up a development environment. A development environment. Now, in programming, generally, there are applications customized for us to write and execute our codes. So every programmer needs an interface to program. In other words, to write code and to also execute the code. Whenever a programming code is written, there is need to confirm it to know if it's actually giving us the expected output, which is called programming bugging or programming testing. So since we are using a programming language called Python, so it means that we need to set up an environment that allow us to bring all data aspects in one place so that we can be able to draw actionable insight from a given data sets. So that is the reason why I want to start with that topic. Now, the first thing to do is to launch your Anaconda application. So once you launch it, this is an interface you get. So you are going to get an interface just like the one on my screen. Now, like I have established before, Anaconda is just like a server or an application package that houses other programs that can be used either for data science or data analysis and even for other purposes. But for us, we should be able to know how to exploit the one that concerns us directly. So this is how your Anacondas are open. Now, once you can access this environment, then this is the framework we are using. So whenever you are asked if you can actually analyze data with Python, expect question like, which of the framework do you use? Because almost all the tools we use today for analyzing data, they all have, okay, somebody said my audio is cracking. Please, how do I rectify that? If you can just talk back to me to know if you are getting me now. Can anybody respond? To let's know whether it is from your own end. Mr. Val, can you hear me?
I can hear you clearly. I think it should be from his own end.
Good. All right. That is just what I want to confirm. Thank you, sir. Okay. So like I was saying, once you have launched your Anaconda like this, you are going to see different application here. Now, anyone that carry install, it means that the Anaconda only provided you the link to get it installed within it, but it has not been officially installed. Anyone that carries launch like this, it means that what? It has been installed within the Anaconda, which means that you can run it and be able to access the environment. So I was talking about a framework that you use. When we were using Microsoft Excel, we use a spreadsheet as our framework. What the spreadsheet actually did for us is to provide us two things. One, it provided us a platform that enabled us to be able to hold the data values. And then the worksheet also provided us a library. A library in programming, it means the collection of function, that is a storage of functions. So that is why we were able to just type functions like sum if, and then it comes out automatically, meaning that that time you are typing it is not actually the first time you are programming it. You are only invoking it from a storage. Now, I have to say that for you to know why this application is needed here. So this is what is actually representing the spreadsheet in Excel, just like what the spreadsheet did for us. But unfortunately, this particular one does not come with functions. So it only provides you a platform where you can actually communicate to your data and be able to draw those meaningful insights from the data that can influence smart decision making. So after you have set up the environment using the notebook, you will have to take another step to call in your library. Like I just defined, library offers us bucket of functions. So the reason why I should import a library is because I want to access collection of functions. So it is important we understand all this. Now, if you look at the definition here, the framework we are using, like I said, is a Jupyter Notebook and is a web-based. So you can see the reason why I spoke about having a server that will run this on a web application. So just to run through it, I understand that I have gone through some of these things, but because some of us that are here right now, we are not in that section, and I don't know if you have gone through the video. That is why I'm like recapping. So web-based interactive computing notebook environment that allows us to edit and run human readable documents while describing the data analysis. So this has actually summarized why do you want to launch this app. So you click on it, and then once you click, it's going to take some time depending on your system speed, and it's going to open on a browser. So from there, we will now be able it's going to open to its directory, and then from there, we will now be able to set up the notebook properly. So let's give it some time. I have actually launched it. This is the kind of environment you get once it finishes loading. Now, okay, so it's still coming up. I just want us to experience it together. Okay, so this is the Jupyter Notebook directory. Now, let me talk about directory in a while so that we understand how it works. Now, when you are using a system storage unit, you need to understand what we call file structure. You need to be able to model your file. Modeling means you should be able to know the relationship between one item in that directory. Directory in this case means the storage. Now, this is the root directory. So if I click here now, this is how it ought to open. Okay, so when it opens like this, what I am telling us is what? The whole of these items you are seeing here, they are a collection of directories. So you should be able to know where exactly your project folder is stored. So for you to set up your analysis environment in Python, which we are considering, I have to leave here temporarily and go to places like desktop, or documents, or if you are working with OneDrive, you can also go to your OneDrive, depending on where you actually want to store your project folder. So let's assume that I want to start analyzing data for a company. I am given a job, and the job nature suggests that I should use what? Python. And now, just to chip it in case you have forgotten, one of the reasons why you use Python for data analysis is because, one, it has large libraries, like I've explained. Two, Python can exploit large data sets. So there's no amount of record a data set could contain, Python can load it. Unlike Excel that can only load or process 1,048,576 record per sheet. So you can see the limitation. Now, to create my project folder, I'll simply right click on any directory, but right now I am creating it on desktop. So I go to what? Folder. So I will name this, let's say weekend data analytics class. Okay. Now, all the data sets you want to analyze, you must add them to this folder, because what I'm going to do is to install this particular folder in the Jupyter Notebook directory. I don't have to come here whenever I want to access my data. So let me see if I have some data here that I can quickly add here. Saturday class, I think I have a data set here. Okay, so I'm going to add two different data sets. If I even have more than that, I'm going to add as many as possible. And I'm going to add a CSV. In a moment, we'll understand what is a CSV data and also pure Excel data. So I want to add these two data to that folder. So I'm still going to bring in one more. So I know I still have another one. Let me see. Okay, let me get. Okay, let me see. Let me just open it to confirm it very well. This one is the one with okay, I can use this. So let me take this. I just want to have at least 3 different data sets. All right, so once you have added the data you want to analyze, you leave here and then go back to your Jupyter Notebook directory. Now, the next step is for me to call in the data here. So to do that, I have to start by identifying the directory where I have the folder, which is desktop. So I will start by double clicking on it, and then the URL will be updating. So which means that all the way from root server toward desktop. Now, the essence of making sure that all your work are in one folder is that in case you want to migrate from one system to another, you don't have to start afresh. All you need is just to copy that folder on desktop in your flash drive. Then make sure you have an Anaconda in the new system, and then you can continue your analysis. But if you did not package them in one folder like I'm doing right now, then it will be difficult for you to lift them from the system you are working on. So from desktop, I should be able to see the name of that folder, which is weekend data analysis. I think weekend. Let me see. Oh, all right. So weekend analytics class. So this is the folder. Then you have to double click on it, and then you see the update of the URL. Now you can see the the three data sets I populated in that folder. Now I want us to know how to identify a CSV data set from Excel workbook data set, even without opening them. Now, this symbol is Excel file. Why this is CSV? Okay. Somebody want to say something?
Yes, please. I have a question.
Okay, go ahead, man.
Okay, on my Jupyter notebook, the names of the different folder there, I don't have a desktop showing on mine. And when I try saving it on other, like saving it on the document, because mine is showing document, download, favorite links, and the rest of them. The document I saved on the folder didn't appear in any of them.
Okay, so
when I saved into the document.
Okay, so you need to check your root directory. Hope you are not set up on the OneDrive, because that is where we normally have that issue. What I mean is this: if you come back to if you come to your Window Explorer, you will see OneDrive here. Let me show you. You have this. You will see OneDrive. Now, if your default directory is programmed on OneDrive, for example, if I expand this OneDrive, you will see if I have it, though I don't set up on OneDrive, but if you have set up on OneDrive, when you expand it, you are going to see desktop, you are going to see document, just like the same file structure that you have here. Now,
yes, I'm
good. Now, which means that OneDrive has its own desktop. OneDrive also has its own what? Document. So if you are expecting to see it in this particular, in the local drive document, that might be, that is not the one you are selecting. So whatever you are doing here is possible that it's saving in the OneDrive what? Document. So what you do is this: when you are creating that folder, you make sure that you go in to the what? The OneDrive instead of this one. You come here like this, open the OneDrive, and then when you open it, you will see document desktop. That is if you have set it up, but I have not set up mine. And that is why it want to bring up the setup page. So let me just exit. So in your own case, you will see the list. Now, when you are in your Jupyter directory like this, you will also see the OneDrive here like this. Can you see it? You will see the OneDrive like this. So which means that you have to double click to open the OneDrive. Then you will now see the desktop and the document. So that is how you'll be working. Is that clear, ma?
Yes, I can see it now. So they are all here.
Good. So that is how you go about it. All right. Now let's move on. So I was talking about reading the directory of your root folder. So we are still in the root server. If you hover on this folder, it says Jupyter server root. So I'll go to desktop. That is where I have that my folder. And then scroll down again. Remember that the topic I am talking about right now is how to set up analysis environments in Python. So This is the folder. I will double click and ensure that I can see all my data set. Now, once you have gotten here, the next step is for you to create a notebook inside this folder. And how do you do that? You go to what? New option. Then from here, you select Python 3. Python 3. So once you click on Python 3, it will create a file, name on title. In some cases, after waiting a while, it will automatically what? Open. But in your own case, just like mine now, if it doesn't open by itself, then you have to double click on it. And then once you double click, it will now open to the development environment. So this is actually the framework where we are expected to bring all our data aspects, including the library, constituting the functions that will be used to process and draw insight from the data. So this is the first topic settled, which is what? How to set up data analysis environment in Python. So you have to go through all these steps. Now, the next thing we want to learn, I'll have to start using comments. I told us that the concept of comment in programming is very what? Essential. A programmer should not do without what? Using comments to explain his or her code. So comments are just narration. They are not meant to be executed by the language. The language does not recognize them as part of the code it should execute. So in other words, the comments are just to explain the code you are writing to yourself or to the third party. So every other thing I will be introducing as topic, I'll be using comment to explain to us. So how do you activate comments in Python? You simply click inside the cell, hold down the shift button and press letter 3. That will automatically create this hash icon. So any write-up that comes after it is a comment, which means that what? You have indirectly informed Python that please don't bother about this. It's none of your business. It's my business. So now what exactly do I want to teach us now? Which is part of familiarizing you with the environment. It's part of the class I've already covered these few things I want to talk about in the first or the second class. Well, let me just recap them again so that we can be on the same page. Now, I said there is a standard for learning application as far as technology is concerned. The way I always break it down is this. If somebody take me from Nigeria, where I reside, to London, I am going to take some time to understand the way things are operated over there. So which means that I have to study. So this is an app. So the first thing is for you to know how to manage it as a data analyst that want to use it. So the first thing I want to show us as part of the managerial skills you need to have on this particular environment called Jupyter Notebook is how do I name this notebook? Because by tomorrow, this notebook is assumed to be used to analyze one of my client data. Now, if I have another client, I will come back to my root folder and go through the new again and create what each notebook for each of these client what data. So how will you be able to differentiate client A from client B if you do not know how to name them? So to name is to click on where you can see on title. So the moment you click on it, it will prompt you a dialog box like this. Now, under new name, you have to write your name. Let's say analysis. Let's say analysis. And please, in Python, as we go forward, there is something Python does not acknowledge. For example, now, if I space and I say what? Class, there might be an issue. if you tend to read this file in some other maybe scenario. So what you do is this. Python will have issue interpreting what type of data is this. Okay, so the last class or the class before the last class where I talk about data types. Go and watch that video. You understand I said there are primitive data type and there are reference or composite or advanced data type. So Python will have issue reading. What type of data is that empty space? So Python does not tolerate you giving space where you are using two words. Even in your data set, where you have two words used in describing the header, if there is no underscore or they are not merged, there might be an issue. So what I'm going to do in this case, I will just either merge them together or add what? Underscore. You can see that once you do that, you click on what? Rename. And then the next time you check here, you will see the name of the notebook. So if I go back to the directory, to the folder now, you see that what? It has what? Updated. It will come up once you save. So it will automatically save. Good. So you can see it now. It has acknowledged it. So whatever you are doing here, you don't have to be saving. So this app is programmed in a way that it automatically saves after some second. Okay, so you can see that it has updated us that the last time it saved is what, or check, is what, 6 minutes ago. So as you continue, you will notice that at some point, this place will re-update you just to tell you that what, oh, I have acknowledged what you are doing. So that is how to save. So the next thing I want to teach us is what? So that one is just how to rename the notebook. Now, the next thing I want to teach us is how do I insert another cell? Supposing my analysis, I will probably go beyond this particular cell. So how do I add more? Let's say I want to create like extra additional 5 cells down. I have an intention of doing different things in those cells. So how do I go about it? The fastest way is for you to click on what? This. Just touch this where you have the square bracket. Once you touch it, then press letter B on your keyboard. Just continue pressing letter B. You can see that what I have been able to what to add multiple word cells. I hope we are following. Please let me get response from one of you.
I'm following.
All right. So now the next thing is, how do you delete them? Let's say you want to remove them. So you can actually hold down the shift key while you are selecting the number of cells you want to delete. And then once you have done that, you can right click and select what? Delete cells. Now remember where I right click. I right click on this section, not inside here, because if you try right clicking here, it might read your mind to be only that particular cell you want to delete. So that is how to delete. So if I add one, another thing I want to quickly show us before I go into the next topic is just like the way we learned how to add and how to delete. How do you change the order of your cells? For example, you mistakenly write code that ought to be here and you want to realign it instead of you deleting and starting and following the order. All you need to do is just to click here. That is why you have this. So you can move up and then you can also what? Move down. You can also add cells in between. So let me add content here. Let's say this, so that when we bring in a new one, you'll be able to differentiate it. So let's say I have this, and I want to bring in a new cell in between this and this, so I'll know which one of them I'm to use. So if you hover here, it says insert a cell above. Now, if I want to bring in a new cell between this and this, then it should be what? Above. Then if I want to add a new cell under, then it has to be what? below. And then, of course, you can also use this to delete. All right. So now the next topic, according to my plan, so I just ran through that just to refresh our memory. They're actually things I've covered before. So the next topic is, so we just ended the very first topic, which is setting up data analysis environments. Now we have an interface where we can program and where we can talk to data as data analysts. So the next topic is how to import library. Importing analysis libraries. That is the next topic. Now remember, I started by telling us that libraries means collection of what? Functions. So we need functions. Number one, I need function to be able to read the data I want to analyze into this notebook. And if the presence of that library is not recognized here, if you write any function, if you call any function name that should be in that library, it's not going to work. Okay, so like I said, library means collection of functions across all programming languages. So what are the library that we need here? We need pandas. So I'm going to brief us why, or their individual functions. We need pandas. In this case, for everything I want to do for now, I need just 2 libraries. So when I get to where I need other libraries, I will also update us. So I need pandas, and then I also need NumPy. Okay, so what is exactly the role of the pandas? The panda is a Python library customized for data science and data analysis that offers us functions for performing calculations, reading our data into the notebook. While NumPy is another subordinative library that work alongside with the pandas just to ensure that our data is properly structured and also to support reading large data sets into the notebook. So you can see that what their focus are actually different. One focus on offering you functions for performing your analysis tasks, while the other one focus on structuring the data and allowing you to load in unlimited data sets into the notebook. So with that understanding, let's look at the simple syntax for importing. Importing is different from installing. That is what? These functions, these libraries exist within Python memory. But what we just want to do is to acknowledge them in this particular notebook we are working on. If you open another notebook tomorrow for another data set analysis, you are going to import the library. For the fact that you have imported the library in this notebook does not mean that if you create a new notebook, you are not going to import what? The library. For every notebook, you must import what? The library, which means you are seeking the presence of those libraries just because you have an intention of exploring functions within them. So what is the simple syntax? Now, you simply type import. Once you see a write-up, if it is not in comment mode, once you see a text showing this green color, it tells you an I that is a keyword. What is a keyword in programming? Keyword is like an inbuilt word or name that has been used to save a function within the program. Now, import, you call the name of the library you want to import. Import pandas. As is another keyword, as PD. So what we are saying is that as far this notebook is concerned, anytime you call PD, you are actually are referring to pandas. You are trying to shorten the word. Now, which means that I can as well say import pandas as Prosper. Import pandas as any name. Now, how do you now confirm if you have successfully imported the library? Is when you run it and you are able to see a value read in this particular square bracket. So how do you run the cell? How do you execute? How do you execute your code? You come to where you have this icon and then click on it. After some time, once you are seeing asterisk, just like the way it is now, it means there is a background word working. Then you have to hold on. After some time, is either you get an error or you get a value inside. Now we have a value, which means that the library is successfully added to this notebook. Now, I can now use the functions in it. It's just like you have just added a container of what functions. Now, the next library I want to import is the NumPy, like I told us their respective function. Now you know why. If you want to load data set that is up to like 1 billion records, you must bring in what? NumPy. But if your data set is within 100,000, if you do away with this library, you will still get your data set loaded. Now import NumPy as NP, just like the concept I explained before now. Now, there is a line of code I want to add, which is not actually compulsory, but I will need it in the course of my analysis. And at the same time, it's for us to make sure that we do not omit it. Now, you will now say from pandas, imports, from pandas, imports, series. That series, the S should be in capital letter, series, then comma, then data frame. The data frame, the D should be capital letter, the F should also be what? Capital letter. Now, I will now reconfirm the whole of this cell. Even I wrote this 2 line in another cell, then there wouldn't have been need for me to reconfirm it. But now that I've added more code, I must not depend on the last time I executed it. I have to go back and execute. Then it will now read 2. Now, the numbers you are seeing in there means that you have executed twice, executed code, or everything you have in that cell twice. That is what it means. So with this, we have our library imported. We have them here. Now, the next topic, according to the plan, remember I said I'm looking at 3 topics, 3 to 4 topics. The first topic is setting up data analytics environment in Python using notebook. We have covered that. And then the second topic is importing data analysis library, such as pandas and NumPy. We have done that. Now, the third topic is loading data. Loading data. That is the next topic. Loading data. Loading data set. Loading data set. Or data frame. So as a data analyst, you must understand your terminologies. When you use the word data sets, you are talking about the collection of the objects and the series. The object in this case represents the labels, the attributes, the headers in your data set. Then the series, we are talking about the records. Okay, so when you add objects plus series, that is referred to as what? Data set. And each of these data sets, the columns, the columns are like dictionary. If you watch the last class video, you understand the concept of dictionary. Now, because I told us then that a dictionary is an advanced data type in Python that holds multiple value in pairs, that is what, in key and value pairs. Okay, for example, now you have a data set and you have a header called what? Customer name. That is a dictionary name, and that become an object. Now, under it, you now list Prosper, Eloho, Jude, Rita, under that customer name. Now, the Prosper there is the value of a dictionary key called what? Name. Okay, so go and watch that video. You understand what I'm saying. Now, I just want us to understand the difference between data set and data frame. Now, what is now data frame? Now, data frame is the principle of data sets of dictionary. That is what you have now gone beyond dictionary, because dictionary have key. The collection of dictionary and their key and what value forms your data frame. Simple as that. Okay, so I just want us to clarify this thing, because in the course of the training, at times you hear me using data set, at times you hear me using what? Data frame. But the simplest way to understand data frame is that the dimension of your data, which is calculated by the addition of all the headers and the what? The records. So each time I use the one data frame, I am focusing on the dimension of my data set, the width and the height. Then while each time I use data set, I am focusing on the headers in that data frame and the records in that same data frame. Hope that is settled. Now, we want to load data here. Of course, as data analysts, we don't exist without data. No matter how good you are, you must be given data before you can speak your language as a data analyst. It's very important. So now, Excel was just very simple. You just double click on the data there to open in Excel. But in Python, like I started by telling us that this is just a platform, the Jupyter Notebook. You don't expect it to come with the data you want to analyze. So the first thing, once you have loaded your library, why did I import this library? Because the function I want to use right now to load in the data is wrapped in what? In this particular library. So if you have not imported this, don't waste your time thinking of what? Reading or loading your data. So I'm going to teach us how to load two different data formats. The first one is CSV, and then the second one is SL, let's say Excel. Now, this is Excel data format, while this is CSV. There's still another, we can get it here if you want to get it in full. Okay, XLSS. So there is what? X here first. Okay, so this is, I hope I'm still correct. Let me check again. Okay. LS, then this L should go. So this is Excel worksheet format, while this is CSV. So in case you are wondering, what is the difference between CSV? The CSV means what? Comma separated value, which sometimes is referred to as what? Comma delimited data type. While Excel, of course, is a spreadsheet and is a workbook data format. Now, there are different functions you use in reading this. Somebody can know how to read CSV data here, but he does not know how to read what? Excel data set. So that's the reason why I want to start with. So let me start with loading CSV data formats. Now, the first thing you are going to do is to create a data frame. Now, I am calling it data frame instead of variable. So if you have been following me, then when I said variable, variable is a storage which is used to hold value within a program memory called the cache. Now, it is from that variable concepts, but why I'm not calling it variable, because now I understand that the entire data set is called what? Data frame. So I'll start by calling the name of my data frame. I'll say what? DF. So DF represents what? Data frame. It could be any name. And then I will assign my operator. From the basic class, I said the syntax of variable has three parts: the name side, the assignment section, and the value section. And I told us that this equals to does not depict equality as we know it to be in mathematics. It only means that it represents a pipe that is transporting something inside what? The container. So in this case, we are saying that what? We want to store something inside what? This DF as a container. Okay? So now equals to, you will now say PD. Now the PD means you are acknowledging the library where the function should come from. Now, there is what we call concatenation in programming. Concatenation means merging, joining one entity with another entity. So when you put in dots in programming, that dot is called period. When you put in that period, it means you have linked two things together. So the function I'm calling from here is read underscore CSV. And then I open the bracket because it's a function. Function has this parenthesis bracket. And once you activate the bracket, it's asking you for input or parameter. So what does that mean? It means that what? There are certain information that need to be given to the function to consume in order to get the expected result. Why did you activate this function? Because I want to read this data set, this healthcare data set, whose format is already a CSV. I want to load it here. Okay? Now, it means that we need to give that data name, the name of this data that we want to read it, the name healthcare, with its extension .csv. We need to give it to what? To the function. Now, you will now ask yourself, the name of this data set, is it a string or a number or a boolean or a dictionary? From data type, you should understand this. This is a string because it's text. And if it is a string, it must be acknowledged with the single quotes or the double quotes. Very important. So as a programmer, for you to even activate that double quote is an acknowledgement that I am working with, I want you to recognize whatever I am bringing as a string data type. Now, the next thing you are going to do, you switch back to your directory and right-click on this, select copy path. Select copy path. And then you switch back to your notebook and then paste it inside, Ctrl-V. Then you will have this very long URL. So if I run this code now, I'm expected to get error, but we will debug it out. It's part of what you need to know. Now look at what Python is saying. Module pandas, module pandas. So what we are calling library can also be referred to as what? Packages or modules. So in an interview, they can ask you, how many Python modules do you know? Instead of going the way of telling you or asking you how many library. You get that now. Now, the error that I was even expecting is not what I'm getting, but you must know how to debug as a programmer. What you will always do is that forget about all this grammar. Always go to the key error. The key error is the very last line when you see error outputted like this. Okay? Now, what you are going to do is this. You check very well. What is this complaining? That it has no attribute read. Oh, CSV. And I type what? CVS. So that tells you this is where the error is. CSV. So I will run it again and see whether that is actually the error.
If this particular bracket does not read number, you are not correct. It read number but with error. So it should read number without error. So there's still another error. So which means that this error was pending, was waiting for the other one, was queuing behind the other one. That is programming for you. Now, like I said, forget about all this grammar. Go down to this last line. That will give you a clue to what is wrong. So let me check here. No such directory. Fine. Now, whenever you have this kind of error, it means Python is actually complaining of it could not locate the storage. Where is that data? It's having issue of location. So how do you solve it? Then you will now adopt another means of referencing information from storages. You can actually use what we call the absolute method and the relative method. Second. So what do I mean by absolute method? I'm going to use a practical scenario. My name is Prosper, and I am from Igwide town in Delta State. If you go there now and start shouting Prosper, don't be surprised, nobody will know me. But if you attach my grandpa name, Egwero, Prosper, you will easily fetch me. That is you trying to use that first one when you were calling Prosper. You were trying to call me with my absolute name, my real name. Now, if you cannot access me with my real name, then you can access me through an object that I am related to. That is relative method. Now, Python is complaining because we are currently calling the data using its absolute name. So I will say, okay, don't bother yourself. The first URL that comes out, which is desktop, remove it. Remove it like this. And then you will now use a programming term to communicate that what move 2 steps backward, you will get to where the data is. That is what the first time from where you are, move, that is 1 dot. Move, that is what it will move from here, from let's come back here so you understand it. This is the first folder. So if you are here right now, because when you put that dot, it means that you are saying that what you are here. You are in this folder, weekend data analytics. You count that one as one dot. Then if you move another step, you will get to what? The data inside here. So that is what I'm going to do here. So I'll put what? Another dot. Now, if I run it again, that error will disappear. Now it has read a value and there is no error. Which means that what? You have the data currently stored in DF, in Python memory. So if I want to see the data, all I will simply do, I will say, okay, using comment to view the data frame, just call the name, which is what? DF. Just call the name DF. So I'll simply come down here, or any cell, I can come here and call what? DF, and then run it. Then you get the data set here. I hope it's clear. Question, please, before I proceed from here. So we have successfully loaded CSV data format. So I want to know if there's question before I teach us how to read a Excel file. There's no question, I continue. Let me get response from at least one person before I continue. Which means we are all following. Okay, want to say
Okay.
something?
This process that I was expected to cram all this process.
Whether you are expected to cram all the processes. Is that
Yes.
what you are asking, man?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ma, you see,
As in remembering these double dots.
let me answer you by putting it this way. It might not be really possible for you to cram all the functions, but as a professional, you need to work towards knowing majority of them offhand. It's very important. And the only way that is going to happen is constant practicing. Okay? Now, the reason why it sounds so very simple for me because I've graduated a lot of students on this aspect of this program. So, what you do every time, before you know it, you get used to it and it becomes part of you. So you shouldn't feel threat in any form that someone is calling it, offhand. No, it's because I have been doing it. I've been doing it. In fact, it's what I teach almost every 2 days. If I'm not in this class, I'm in another class, either virtual or physical. Okay, so what you do is that tech require professionalism, whether I like it or not. There are remote job opportunity. Like I always tell people, these jobs are not for learners. These jobs are not even for average practitioners. They are for people that are good. So if you are learning anything, learn it well. Practice make perfect, as they say. Okay, so at the end of this training, make sure you sit with the video. And then the more you do it, you will see that I will reverse this question back to you when we get to the end of the program. I will ask you then how far. You will tell me then that now I know many of them because by then you must have practiced so many. So I don't know if I've answered your question correctly, ma.
Yes.
Okay, so I encourage you to continue to follow. There's no way you will not get it. These things are very simple. Okay, so now that is how to read CSV. So like I said, the reason why I am teaching us all this is that I understand as a professional that if you are doing remote job, they can send you an Excel data format. And meanwhile, you only know how to read CSV. So that can be a challenge. That is why I'm taking my time to explain both of them. So let's quickly see how we can read this very well, any of these one that are in Excel format. So that will now take us to the use comment, loading Excel workbook data sets format. Now, it's almost the same thing. But the difference will be in the function name. Here we use read underscore CSV. But this time around is going to be read underscore Excel. That is all, the same procedure. So now, since I have already saved one of my data frame with DF, I will say this one is what? DF1. Avoid using the same name to save what? The same concept we know all the way from office usage. So now, I'll do the same thing. Both of them are coming from the same library called what? Pandas.read underscore Excel. And then string. Now, you can call the name of the file if, like here, and I'm going to have issue if I want to call the name because of the space between what Amazon says. So from onset, if I had known, I would have what? Save it as one name. But nevertheless, if you can write it in a way that when you are typing it manually, you can give that same amount of space without omitting any of the format, it will still work. Okay, so now to avoid that, that's the reason why I am simply, sorry, a minute. So that is the reason why, I am right-clicking and then copying the part to avoid that kind of typographical error where I could miss the format. So now that same way I taught us, if you run it, it might work. Let's say since it's in the Excel format, the same thing. Once you see no such file or directory, then you know that is location issue. So just do what I did the other time. Just remove the first directory, then put 2 dots, which I've explained, then run it again. And once it shows a value without error, it means it's accepted. So it's actually on, but it's complaining of something being outdated and it's recommending the future format or function that we use. Now, let me call the data, like I told us. I can just come here, either in the same cell or you go to the next cell, call the name of that data set, df1, and then run it again, you get your data. But there's issue, no wonder it's complaining. You can see that that data set, I think, is the data set I have worked on. That is why you are getting this error. So if I want to verify when you have issue like this, just leave here, go back to that data set itself and open it in Excel. You will know where the error. So this is it. So let me just open it in Excel. This is what I'm reading. Because if you don't know all this, sometimes you may just be clear yourself, but let's see. So if something is wrong, so you can see it. You can see what we are calling there. This is analysis sheet already. So what I'm going to do is to take the data from here, Control C, and then Control N to ask for a new book, Control V to paste everything, and then I am going to save it back to that folder with a single name if possible. Go to Browse, then choose, I will have just click on it there, and desktop, locate that folder, weekend, open it, then let me just save it, Amazon. And then remember, you know how to change from CSV to what? To Excel. And even I want to save this in CSV, I have to update here to what? To this format. But since we have CSV and I just want to read the one of Excel, then I will just, there's no need, I will just stay on this and then click on save. So if I go back to my analysis notebook now and change the name, so I'll just go back there and copy a new part. So just go back to your directory. So this is the one we just created now. So right click on it and also select copy part. Then come back here and then update it by pasting. Then of course it's going to show that error. So I'll put the 2 dots and then run it. So you see that you have the correct data set now. So these are some of the errors you can encounter. So that's why I said debugging is part of the skill. You need to have ability to stay true, ability to try to know what the cause is and how to resolve it. These are the critical thinking that makes programmer to be valued. That is why, on the average, once you show me a programmer, you show me a creative person and somebody who cannot easily give up. Because of challenges like this that you face while you are coding and you stay on it, there are some that you cannot continue until you solve that problem. So that will stretch you, and that will make you to discover more. Okay, so this is, I believe, I would like to stop here so that by tomorrow we take it further, though I intend to cover data inspection techniques. So I'll just write the topic tomorrow. I encourage every one of us to be here because that will also be very, very interesting. In fact, if you are chance, please try as much as possible not to miss that section. We are going to learn different techniques in Python that can be used to check your data, because as a data analyst, when they give you data that you did not compute, you cannot start analyzing it without understanding the data. So it all starts from getting data, understanding the data, studying the data, understand the data before you can draft effective analysis question that will eventually lead to drawing the actionable insights that will guide either the organization or the individual on how to make smart decisions. So I'll see us in that class. So like I said, let me just write the topic down so that once I open the notebook tomorrow, I know that this is where to continue from. So we are going to look at data inspection technique. Any question? Any question before we end the section? Just want to release us on time. I have actually covered much, but I don't want to exceed here. Your assignment is you have to create a new notebook. Then make sure that you perform everything that I've done. Before I start that class, I will ask those of us that are here to preview their notebook. So I want to see things like this perform on your notebook. The same thing, you should be able to call at least 2 different data sets. One is CSV, one is Excel. Question? Okay, you have question.
Okay, can we get any random file?
Yes,
Please.
yes, random data. Just look for data. But if you have this
Okay.
one, fine. If you don't have it, I just need 2 different data sets. One should be in CSV, one should be
Excel.
in Excel. Call both of them in your notebook, just like I've done now. Before tomorrow.
CSV, is it like a Microsoft Word document? Or...
No. Is comma separated delimited or comma separated value it was one of the most used data formats. It's a text format anyway, because just like you list information and separate them with comma, which is like text, but it should be a data frame. Is that all?
Okay. Yes.
Okay. Thank you for joining. Mr. Val, hope you are still here. Ngozi, hope you are still here.
I'm here. Tomorrow's class is what time, please?
Same time, 8 p.m.
Okay.
8 p.m., please.
Okay, thank you.
All right.